The 21 vintage from Bevan Cellars is a totally different kitty cat than our last several vintages. As everybody knows, we didn't do a 2020. We had 2019, which was voluptuous and dense and was a pure sex kitten from day one. And now we're on to 21s. And the 21 vintage was the first year where we did things differently to adjust our winemaking to the vintage. And in 2021, the wines were so dense. We had small berries. They came into the winery. You felt the tannins right off the bat. And if you've been a consumer of Bevan, you know that we like to make massively concentrated wines with refined textures. And we were concerned from day one on the phenolic and tannin management of the 21s. And now that they're in bottle, I think some of the new things we did to the wines actually paid off. And so we're going to start by trying the 21 Sugarloaf. And as always, Sugarloaf is a right bank blend. We're using both Cabernet Franc and Merlot. This vintage, we're about 60%, 61% Merlot with 39% Cabernet Franc. And I used a little less Franc this vintage because the Franc was so tannic that I needed the seduction of the Merlot to offset all those tannins. And Brian, welcome to the family.
Thank you.
And
Cheers.
So Brian's a fairly gifted sommelier, and so when we taste the wines together, I'm always fascinated for his take, bringing in a new perspective. And when you smell the Sugarloaf, what do you get out of it, sir?
Well, the first thing that you always get when you get Bevan wine is that dark, luscious, concentrated fruit in these wines. But it's not just fruit. There's a little bit of like smoked meat, but good. Lightly, not like up front, but just in the background.
You get that little grilled meat thing. And I like how 21 was a much higher acid year than we'd had in a long time. 19 was really high pHs, 21 was lower. And I feel the acid on my tongue. You get that mouth-watering quality that says, okay, this is a vintage where I look for food. I think it's going to be fabulous with food. And Theo, you've been drinking Sugarloaf Mountain forever. When you taste this, how do you compare it to most past vintages?
I think it reminds me a lot of 14 and 16 at this point. Like that was the first sip that I've had of this in a while. It's been in the bottle a little bit longer, and it's really plush and very, very silky, and really, you use the word sexy. We can use it.
Yeah,
it's definitely there.
I think 16 was rounder. I like the 14 analogy, a great drought year where the 14s were really compact and dense. It has much lower alcohol, not that I care about that, than the 14. The 21s are very responsible with their alcohol levels. And this vintage is 14.9-ish in a real way. And I think that keeps the wines with a pure linear quality. It's not as hoochie coochie as some of the past Sugarloafs, and you get that linear integrity that I think speaks to complementing food.
The mouth-watering acidity and the brightness in the wine as soon as it hits your palate and the size of your mouth, instant saliva.
Yeah,
is dictating to me that this wine is going to be a fabulous food pairing wine. I'm thinking duck, lamb. Like a beautiful like blueberry or sour cherry sauce or something that's really going to pick up those notes of the beautiful blue fruits in the wine. The Cab Franc shines in this wine, even though it's so much less, 39%. I mean, it really does shine.
And I think the fruit in this is, well, I get the tobacco quality from the Franc. I think the fruit profile in this is more berry than sometimes we get. Sometimes we get cassis and in blueberry, but I think the acid profile on this speaks to berry more than some of our more forward seductive vintages. But this wine has a nobility to it. I think technically it's as perfect a Sugarloaf Mountain as we've made in the past. We've made wines that are a little naughtier. I don't know that we've ever made a Sugarloaf that's as technically spot on as this. I think this wine's yummy. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Beautiful.
So the 21 EE, and we were talking earlier what makes, amongst ourselves as we were drinking, And what makes the 21 EE so special, and we actually changed a little bit of the winemaking on the 21 EE to get the Franc to be gentle texturally, because the 21s were so tannin. We splash racked the Cabernet Franc into the tank before we anaerobically racked the Cabernet in. The net result was trying to soften the tannins from the Franc, then get all of the verb from the Cabernet Sauvignon. And my fear was that we'd have a dense hard wine that would take 10 years to open up. The resulting wine, what we've gotten from that early air is Franc shining really bright. So whereas it's only 35% Franc right now, this to me is a Franc dominated wine.
Completely.
Yeah.
And what do you get? How does the Franc manifest itself to you, Brian?
Well, I think the thing that I really appreciate about this wine is it has that Franc character without being hard and tannic and sort of impenetrable. It has a bit of that sort of Ferris quality that we were talking about, and a lift to it, a little more red fruit from that, without, and kind of lightens up that Cabernet that we'll see in the tank.
I thought it was going to be rounder when it was in tank, but it has weight and power.
Yeah.
On the tongue,
Completely.
Thea, where does it jump out for you on the palate?
In the mid palate and in the back of my throat as well, in the back of my mouth as well. But in the mid palate, you just get this really beautiful, fine, gritty, ripe tannin that's just really, really prevalent. And of course, that beautiful mouth-filling, round, plush style that Bevan Cellars is known for.
I love the tertiary flavor development in this wine. There's so many. If we were all to pick out, okay, what's the most obvious and dominant flavor profile in this wine, it'd be easy to pick 4 or 5 different components. This wine has a breadth of flavor.
So good.
Compared to the Sugarloaf, I think the Sugarloaf will hit its stride in 6 to 12 months. I think this EE isn't going to really fully express itself for 4 or 5 years. That this is a wine that has so much going on. It's going to be fabulous to watch it go and let all of those little pieces start to show itself. Brian, how long would you lay a wine like this down? Just for a shot, being somebody who's sold wine tableside.
The thing I love about Bevan wines is that this is delicious now, and it's going to be delicious in 20 years. Mm-hmm. Easily.
Yeah, we just tried the 05 Show Kit Cabernet Sauvignon, and it was still youthful and yummy.
Stunning. Absolutely stunning.
Yeah, this is a wine. It will reward some patience, but if you want a little giddy up love right off the bat, I think it's going to be there. Theo?
It's going to get more complex. I mean, it already is complex, but all of those separate components are going to come together and then shine. And one of the things I love about Double E is as it gets older, my favorite tertiary characteristic is the cassis. And it develops this liqueur. And this is definitely going in that direction. It's going to be really rich and beautiful, just like the 16.
I'm with it. Giddy up.
Yeah.
Giddy up.
Huge. Brian was like, huge. This wine is huge. The 2021 Tench Vineyard Cabernet Sauvignon is just
Massive.
huge. You take a sip and it says, okay, I'm taking over your palate. This wine is huge. I don't think it hurts, but it's huge. Theo, what do you taste in this wine?
Blackberries, boysenberries, mulberry, like dark, rich berry notes. Beautiful, beautiful. A little bit of spice. There's mineral notes. Tench always gives me a sense of place when we make this wine in every single vintage. This one, I think, right now it's really, really just huge.
Brian, do you get salinity in
and
there?
it's definitely
Maybe a touch of salinity. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of salinity too, but it's huge. It grabs your ears and says, "Here I am." It's huge, and the tannins are there. They don't hurt. This isn't a Howell Mountain Cabernet from a cool vintage. It's Bevan Cellars, but in our world of wines, this is as massive and concentrated as we do. This is huge.
You'll definitely be rewarded by hanging on to this for a couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I concur.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, the tannins are beautiful, but they are super ripe and they are very prevalent. The wine is just going to get better as it gets older, and it needs a little bit of time.
Stunning.
But I'm enjoying it now. I wish we had a steak.
Cabinet slab.
Right.
This
That's
wine
right.
pulls hair harder than most. And that's our 2021 Tench Cabernet, and that's how we like it.
Cheers.